Hello, one and all, and welcome to Film Fragments, a podcast where we take fragments of an actor, director, or genre and tell you our favorites from their catalog. My name is Brian Suffield. I am your host, and I'm very excited to welcome you guys to this week's episode of Film Fragments, where today we're going to be talking about our favorite films starring the legendary Toni Collette. And I'm very excited to welcome today's guest to the episode. It's Matthew ST.CLAIR. Matthew, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm very excited to have you on here. I cannot wait to gush with you about Toni Collette, who is regarded as one of the best talents working today. So I like to throw a curveball question at the start of these podcasts. So if you could take one Toni Collette character out to dinner, whether it's with your family, friends, or just you and the character, which character would it be?
Probably jo- Joni from Knives Out. I mean, if only for the fact that she seems like she could be such comic relief. I can get to hear her talk about her insp- her lifestyle blog and all that.
You know what? I'm also gonna go with that character too. She just seems like someone that would be fun to have around dinner, even though she would probably be a massive pain in the butt. But you know what? If I want to hear anyone talk about their lifestyle blog, why not have it be Toni Collette?
Yep. Yep.
So to go on a little bit about yourself, talk a little bit about what got you into film and why you love it so much, and what are some of your favorite films of all time?
Yeah. Sure. I mean, I've been. Well, I remember I've been an Oscar buff since I was 8 years old. The year Remember, it was the year Gladiator won Best Picture that I became fixated with that whole award ceremony. And I initially dabbled into screenwriting, but then film criticism just seemed more up my alley. Well, as for some of my favorite films, well, it's either Goodfellas or Almost Famous that remains my number one favorite, and also Black Narcissus, which I really love. Beautiful Thing, Carrie. So I'm a big horror movie fan, so that's one of my faves. Carrie, Brief Encounter, Autumn Sonata. I like all. I mean, horror and horror is kind of my favorite genre, but I like all sorts.
Yeah, I like that list a lot, especially Goodfellas and Almost Famous. Those are definitely two of my favorite films of all time as well. So I really like that list a lot. So when it comes to Toni Collette, why do you think a lot of people love her so much as a performer? And why do you think a lot of people get excited whenever they see Toni Collette's name attached to a project?
Well, she just now like if she brings her A game in almost everything she does, but just the fact that she'll just dabble in, she'll just take anything regardless of genre, role size, medium. She does amazing work on TV and theater as well as film, and she'll go from and she'll do like an indie role, a lead role in an indie dramedy, and but also appear for a quick one scene cameo in a much larger picture. And she'll just do like it doesn't matter how how small the role is, like, or whatever. There's no role too big or too small for her, and she just leaves an impression in almost everything she does. So, and she's such a chameleon too. Like I know Meryl Streep gets a lot of praise for her accent work, but even Toni Collette has done a wide range, like Welsh, Irish, Philadelphia, Valley, British.
She has one of the best fake American accents I've ever heard in my life. Like I was
Yeah.
talking about this with someone yesterday, and someone was like, "Who do you think has um some of the best fake American accents out there?" She hands down is in the top like two in terms of fake American accents. And honestly, for the most part, like at least for me, a lot of the films that I've seen her do, she doesn't really get a chance to use her actual accent, which is kind of unfortunate. But I mean, if you're going to cast someone to do a fake American accent, she's at the top. Yeah, I love Toni Collette as well. Like you said, she's a chameleon when it comes to her work. She has tackled so many different genres. She has so much range as a performer. She's done comedy and drama, thriller and horror. like she's done a mix of pretty much everything, and she continues to knock it out of the park, especially when she brings her A game, regardless of how big or small the performance is. And yeah, I'm really excited to talk about her. We'll obviously get to a particular film where she should have won an Oscar. She should have probably at least 3 Oscars to her mantle right now, but I mean, we can't always get what we want. So
Right.
I cannot wait to hear your list. I cannot wait to see what you put on here. And I say without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So the way this is going to work, everyone, is we're going to go through our 5 through 1. Now, if Matt has a film that's higher on my list, I'm going to say pass after he talks about it. Same goes for him. If I have a film that's higher on his list, he's going to say pass after I talk about it. So, Matt, I'd like to ask you a very important question. What is your number 5 favorite Toni Collette film of all time?
Well, it's actually not exactly a film, more of a miniseries. The crime drama miniseries called Unbelievable, which came 3 years ago, where she plays a cop investigating a string of sexual assault cases, and for which she received an Emmy nomination for Best Supporting Actress in a Limited Series or TV Movie. So in Unbelievable, what I like, I love the dynamic between her and Merritt Weaver, the sort of because there's sort of the whole good cop bad cop dichotomy, which Toni Collette falling on the more on the bad cop side, because she's more tough. She's more tough as nails, but she doesn't play into the old bad cop thing so much, where she's someone who's like a total aggressor. And she even acknowledges how she's I think it's seeing how she's acknowledges the fact that she's not all she's not as sunny as Merritt Weaver's character. Like I still remember the episode where she's like, I'm not in a ray of sunshine. I just want to find this guy.
Yeah. I loved that series. I thought it was incredible. And Toni's performance was really unbelievable. But I think the standout for me was Caitlin Dever. I really think that she was very overlooked by all the outlets. I don't understand how she didn't get nominated for this, because she was really the heart and soul of this series.
Yeah.
And as great as Toni was and as incredible as Merritt Weaver was, that was a great year for her. She had that in Marriage Story. That was also an incredible year for Caitlin Dever, because she had this and she had Booksmart. And I don't understand how she didn't get nominated for this. It's actually pretty criminal that she didn't, because I'm happy now that she got nominated for something. She got nominated for Dope Sick, but why wasn't she nominated for this? Like, this was literally the Caitlin Dever show. Like, why didn't you nominate her for this?
Well, that was a competitive year.
It was, yeah.
Because you also had the winner, Regina King, for Watchmen. Cate Blanchett, Mrs. America. The both Reese, Kerry Washington, Little Fires Everywhere, and Reese. There was Shira Haas for Unorthodox. That was, and there were, besides Caitlin Dever, there was also like Daisy Edgar Jones, Normal People.
That's
Reese
right.
Witherspoon, Little Fires Everywhere. That was. It was just a tough year.
It really was, but that series it's incredible. And I mean, if you guys haven't watched it, it's on Netflix. Please do yourself a favor, check it. It's a really difficult watch. Can't stress that enough, but it's one that's very important to check out. Like, you have to watch it. It's really incredible stuff. Yeah. And for me, my number 5, I'm going to go with a very wholesome watch in comparison to Unbelievable. I'm going to go with About a Boy from 2002. So I haven't seen this film in a very long time, but I remember being very floored by it. It was so sweet and so endearing. And Hugh Grant, I mean, my God, one of the most likable, charismatic people in Hollywood, just so charming and so wholesome. And I loved Toni Collette's performance in this. She's a single mom with her son, played by an incredibly young Nicholas Hoult, who's fantastic in the film. And what I could tell you is that, see, I haven't seen the film in quite some time to really articulate proper thoughts on it, but I remember being so engrossed by it because I love films like this. Nick Hornby is a top tier writer that really does not get the recognition that he deserves. He wrote Brooklyn. What else has he written? He's written
Uh,
so many different things. He's
in education.
an Education, which is a very good film as well. Um, he he Oh, well, he wrote the novel. My mistake. Nick Hornby wrote the novel. The screenplay was written by Paul Weiss, Chris Weiss, and Peter Hedges. Paul Weiss and Chris Weiss. This was so weird for them because like they literally came off making American Pie, which is a super raunchy sex comedy, and then they decided to do this feel good, wholesome movie, and it was so great for them to tackle this. And it's just again, it's one of those films too that I think uses narration pretty well to where you hear what's going on with both Will's character, Hugh Grant, and then Marcus, played by Nicholas Hoult. And I'm very hit or miss when it comes to voiceovers in film and television because sometimes it can be overused to the point where it doesn't work and add a lot to how it's being presented. But this movie does it very, very well. And again, just the acting across the board is fantastic. Toni Collette, Nicholas Hoult, Hugh Grant, and Rachel Weisz. She was great in this too, but she's always knocking it out of the park. But yeah, this is a very charming, wholesome movie. It's so cozy. You just want to cuddle up with it, and it's just so endearing to watch. And I figure why not add a very incredibly endearing film to a list where it'll probably consist of a lot of not so happy films. So yeah, those are my thoughts on About a Boy. Are you gonna pass or is this not on your list?
It's not on my list because I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good, my friend. It's very good. I think you'll like it. I think you will very much enjoy it. So now going into our number 4s, what is your pick?
Well, it can not exactly a whole. Like another film is not exactly a wholesome watch, rather a pretty scary watch. The Sixth Sense. I remember it's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember it scared the bejesus out of me when I was younger. But also, I feel like I feel like I kind of had to put it on this list because this is the film that got her first and so far only Oscar nomination, which is a rarity for a horror film. But and also just for the car scene alone, I think is what clinched her that nomination. She goes through an emotional roller coaster with just her face. When her son is telling her, "Grandma says hi," and she's like confused, and then shows confusion and grief. As she's like holding her pen, puts her hands on her heart, and then acceptance. Just her. She doesn't have to say a word, and we can just feel everything she's going through.
Yeah, that's my number 4 as well. The Sixth Sense is incredible. Toni's performance is really, it's funny that she got a nomination for this, but nobody really talks about her performance like they should. Now, obviously, it's not her best performance. At least for me, it's not her best performance. But what I will say is that she crushes every scene that she's on screen. She plays the broken single mom really, really well. She plays the protective mom really, really well. And I loved the chemistry that she had with Haley Joel Osment, who is the person that everybody talks about when talking about this movie, and rightfully so, because it's one of the best child performances of all time. It is unfortunate that Haley Joel Osment really hasn't had a huge career these last few years. It's unfortunate, he starred in a very successful horror thriller film from the 90s, which led to him being an Oscar nominee at like 10, 11 years old, which is incredible. And he hasn't done as much as I wish he would have. I mean, throughout the early 2000s, he did his fair share of things, but really in the past, I don't know, 10 years, he hasn't really done much. Yeah, he pops up in things every so often. Sure, he's still playing the character of Sora from Kingdom Hearts, which is great, but I would love to see him, go back and give a. I think he could give a really great performance if he's given something really, really great to work with. And he's incredible. And of course, Bruce Willis is fantastic in this. This is one of his best performances for sure. And this was one of the first, I think this was the second film directed by M. Night Shyamalan, who obviously is heavily regarded as a very hit or miss filmmaker with a lot of people. When he hits, I think he really knocks it out of the park. And when he misses, he unfortunately really sticks out like a sore thumb. But this is one of his hits for sure. It's scary, it's thrilling, it's unpredictable. The twist is iconic. The I See Dead People sequence is iconic. This whole movie is ahead of its time, and it works very well as a horror movie. And you know what? For it being the PG-13 horror movie, it's scarier than a lot of movies that are rated R, which is saying a lot. That says a lot about crafting together really good horror. And yeah, that car scene was amazing. And this whole film is incredible. And yeah, The Sixth Sense is great. It's unfortunate this is the only Oscar nomination that she's gotten so far, because let's not jump the gun and say like this is a really good performance and it's a very deserving nomination, but how is this the only nomination that she's gotten? Beats me, honestly. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later on in this episode. So now hopping into our number threes, what do you have?
My number three is the 2005 dramedy In Her Shoes, which is a film I greatly admire, and that was also a bit of maybe a case of mismarketing, because it was I feel like it was the trailer presented it as a sort of a lighthearted chick flick when it's something much deeper than that. It's about as it deals with two sisters sisters who are at odds with each other. And one of them, played by Cameron Diaz, is a party girl who can't hold a job partially because she's dyslexic. And then her sister, played by Toni Collette, is a workaholic who finds herself at odds with her sister because of her recklessness, and even throws her out of her house because she just can't do it because she's like, I can't do it. But what makes it so her performance so it just feels, I just find the performance so lived in, because like a very lived in portrayal of siblinghood, where you feel like, because you see someone who wants to be mad at her sister, but she can't because she's family. I can't. Even at one point when she's going out walk with her friend, she's like, why do you do this to yourself? She's like, she's my sister.
Unfortunately, I have not seen this film. I didn't get a chance to watch it in preparation for this podcast, which really bums me out because I really wanted to give it a watch. I gushed a lot about Cameron Diaz a few weeks back when I did the rom-com episode of the show, where I was gushing about The Holiday, which is a true gem of cinema. And her and Toni Collette, that's a very interesting pairing that I never thought would happen. And I would absolutely 100% be down to watch that. Yeah, I remember watching the trailer for this. Now, granted, I mean, when this came out, I was a little kid. I was 7 years old when this came out. I remember very well seeing this trailer quite a lot. And I was like, well, that's not for me. Can't see it. And then fast forward many years, still haven't watched it, but I would 100% watch it. I think the thing that really interests me the most about this movie was who it was directed by. It was directed by Curtis Hanson.
Yeah.
And this doesn't really seem like a film that he would make to me, because, I mean, I guess for me, I would think right away of LA Confidential, which is obviously a crime neo-noir thriller film, and then he made 8 Mile, which is obviously completely different from that. And then he decides, oh, hey, I'm going to do this dramedy with Cameron Diaz and Toni Collette. I mean, I appreciate the versatility, but I'll definitely have to give it a watch, and I trust your word on it. So I will 100% give this film a watch. So my number three, go ahead.
As one of Cameron Diaz's best performances.
Yeah, I think she's another performer to where when she's really good, she really knocks it out of the park. Because a lot of people do look at her and they're like, she's okay. She's only really good in comedies, and she's done her fair share of dramas too. But I do think that when she is given a great script, she could really knock it out of the park.
Mhm.
100%. So now my number three, I'm going to go with a very underrated film from Toni Collette's filmography as well. Critically, it has very good reception, but nobody talks about this movie, unfortunately, as much as they should. Me being the big coming of age fan that I am, I would think this would be regarded as a classic in the genre. It's not that old per se, but it's one that really should get more recognition. My number three from 2013, The Way, Way Back.
Uh,
So if you guys have not seen this film, first of all, you should. And I will tell you that it's a great film to watch in the summer. Unfortunately, right now, the summer is coming to a close. So maybe it may not be the best idea to watch it now, but it's one of those films where you can watch any time of the year and still enjoy because of how good it is. So, so we have this teenager named Duncan. He's very shy, he's very quiet, and it's him and his mom, played by Toni Collette, and they decide to go with her boyfriend to their home in Cape Cod. Her boyfriend is played by a very villainous and very douchebaggy Steve Carell, who we may be talking about once again in this episode at some point. Not going to spoil that, but wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And throughout this film, Duncan comes across a whole bunch of people, and he befriends this water park employee named Owen, played brilliantly in one of the best performances of his entire career by Sam Rockwell. It's a very wholesome coming of age tale. It has the coming of age tropes that you would see, but to talk specifically about Toni Collette, um, it's definitely one of her more tender performances and very lovely and vibrant performances, but you see a lot of brokenness inside of her because, you know, she's a single mom. Obviously, her and her husband are not together, and now she's with Steve Carell, who you get hints of throughout the movie is really not a good guy, but you could kind of sense that from the first scene of the movie. But she obviously wants the best for her kid. And you could see that throughout the movie. And she loves her child more than anything in the world. But the sequence with her that really stands out to me, there's a sequence in the backyard at one point, about, I would say, in the start of the third act of the movie, where a big thing is revealed and she's just crying. And the way that in her voice she says, Duncan, oh my God, it's incredible acting. The film is incredible. It's so funny. It's so charming. It's so sweet. The acting across the board is fantastic from everybody. Nat Faxon and Jim Rash co-wrote the script and they co-directed the movie. This was right after they won the Oscar for co-writing The Descendants, which is one of my favorite films of all time. And, you know, again, like, me being the coming of age nut that I am, I wish this film would get more attention. And honestly, when this film came out, I was able to somewhat relate to the character of Duncan. Now, my parents aren't divorced, so I can't relate to that aspect. But what I can relate to is that I was a very quiet teenager when I was a teen. I was very quiet. I wasn't as outgoing as I am now. But I feel like everyone could find some relatability to this film, regardless of what's going on. And, you know, I'm a big fan of Cape Cod. Cape Cod is a beautiful place to visit in the summer. So it's nice that we have a film that's set in Cape Cod. And yeah, everything about this film to me is great. It's one of the best coming of age films of the past. It's almost 10 years old, which is nuts. It's crazy that this film is almost 10 years old. It's a great film to watch during the summer. And I absolutely adore this film. So where do you stand on The Way, Way Back?
I've only seen the end.
You've only seen the ending?
Or yeah.
Oh no, Matt.
I mean, I know it's on my to-do list, but
Oh, oh my God. Oh man, a part of me just died. Oh my God.
Oh no.
Oh my God. That's no, you'll definitely like. This is another one where I think you'll definitely really enjoy it. It's so good. It's so good. And are you a big coming of age film fan or not so much?
I don't mind them.
Yeah, I think you should definitely watch this film. It's just so good. And plus Toni Collette being in it and the whole cast, I mean, is incredible. And also, I'm just gonna say this right now. You know, Allison Janney, She was great in I, Tonya. She shouldn't have won the Oscar for that. This would have been a
Yeah.
more deserving supporting actress win over the I, Tonya win. I'm just saying it's true. You could say you could you could let me know how you feel when you watch the movie.
Yeah.
So now our top two, we definitely have one film in common. We definitely 100% have one film in common. Now, I don't know if we'll have another film in common. So I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on your number two favorite Tony Collette film of all time.
Well, it probably likely is the movie that we have in common. That is Hereditary.
Maybe we have that in common. So why do you love Hereditary so much?
Oh, well, for obviously the dinner scene.
Oh,
It's
incredible.
it's been a while since I've seen the movie as a whole, but the movie just messed my brain up. But the dinner scene is the one moment that I always keep going back to. Because again, it kind of like the car scene in The Sixth Sense. It just allows her. It's a uncanny demonstration of her ability to go through a spectrum of emotions in just one scene. Like she's angry, just angry, and also trying to be understanding with the I know you miss her, I know you're in pain, but also just being over it and kind of being kind of over it with her son.
Oh man. What else do you like about Hereditary?
What else?
Let's go in about Hereditary. Let's go in and gush about it.
Oh, well, I mean, I will admit I sort of prefer, as much as I prefer Ari Aster's follow-up to Hereditary, the Midsummer. Because I love Midsummer, and I cannot wait for Disappointment Boulevard.
So excited for that. So excited for that one.
Hereditary, I guess it's the cinematography, but in particular, is pretty genius.
Yeah.
And,
Oh
and also,
man.
and
Yeah.
also it just, and I even wrote an article at this, but it also just felt like an allegory for the horrors of living with mental illness, like anxiety and depression.
Absolutely.
It's like the dreams that either Alex Wolff or Toni Collette have. Like it, like the one with the dream of Toni Collette saying, "I never wanted to be your mother."
Oh,
That it's like you never know whether it kind of shows anxiety, how anxiety has the ability to make you believe something that isn't true. Like whether certain paranoid, whether or not certain it has the how it has the ability to make you believe that certain paranoias you have are true even when they aren't. So it's or certain fears and paranoias.
I'll talk about it when I get to it.
Okay. Okay.
So my number two is Little Miss Sunshine. That's my number two. Um, One of the best films ever made, without doubt. This is a truly incredible piece when it comes to the way it's directed, the way it's written, and especially the way it's acted. Before I touch upon the acting, let's talk about the directing. Um, John Verdane and Valerie Ferris. I believe this was the first time they ever directed anything, and I have to commend them because this is if I'm not mistaken, I think this was the first film that they had directed. I'm just gonna look that up right now. See, look at me being unprepared on my show. I'm sorry, everyone, to listening. It's so disappointing. Yep, it's the directorial debut of them, and it was written by first-time writer Michael Arndt, who actually won the Academy Award for this film, which is that's so exciting. It's so exciting to see you write your first feature and then you win an Oscar. It's a truly beautiful screenplay. All the characters I am a fan of dysfunctional family pieces, whether it's on film or on television. I'm a massive fan of dysfunctional families depicted on screen. And every single character in this movie has something going for them to where they are so fucking weird. Every single one of them are weird in their own way, but quite a bit of them are very broken as well, which I love seeing in this film is that you understand why everyone feels the way they do, but you're also like, man, these people are fucking weird. But you're so captivated by watching them because they're so well written, each and every one of them. And the actors portraying said characters are pretty perfect. And, the directing here, really, I have to commend the directing. It was really incredible stuff. And I just think the premise is really fun and exciting. And you know what? It's a tragic comedy. There's tragedy that happens along the way on this journey where they're going from Albuquerque to California to have the little daughter, Olive, participate in the Little Miss Sunshine pageant. And, throughout the 2 days that they're on the road traveling there, I mean, so much happens. And I'm not going to say anything just in case you guys haven't seen it. But if you guys have not seen this movie, I mean, seriously, what is the matter with you? This is one of the best films ever. Now, to go into the acting, you have a great ensemble of 6 people. You have Greg Kinnear, Steve Carell, Toni Collette, Alan Arkin, Paul Dano, and Abigail Breslin, all of whom are incredible. Every single one of them is incredible. This was the first time I had ever seen Paul Dano in anything, and I was so floored by his performance here. I remember watching this and There Will Be Blood back to back for the first time a little over 10 years ago. That was my first exposure to him, and right there, he instantly became a favorite actor of mine. I had always loved Steve Carell, so seeing him in a film like this was so out of left field for me because I had only seen him in really straight up comedies. So seeing him as this character was incredible. Greg Kinnear was great. Alan Arkin was great. I will say that Alan Arkin, as great as he was, in my opinion, he should not have won the Oscar for this. I was ruined big time for Eddie Murphy and Dreamgirls that year. That to me was the best supporting actor performance that year. And then Toni, she isn't given as much to do as the others here, but she's still really incredible. I think her first scene alone was really incredible acting, where it's her reuniting with Steve Carell's character, who happens to be her brother in the movie. It's just also very weird watching this in the way back. They're brother and sister in this, and then they're lovers in the way back. It's very off-putting to me. I don't know. I still find it very weird, but hey, it's just acting. Everyone does weird things every so often. I mean, for God's sakes, Big Little Lies, Nicole Kidman and Alexander Skarsgård were lovers. Then in The Northman, they were mother and son, and now they're probably going to play brother and sister, and I just don't know what's going on with that. But, I'll watch anything with that. But Abigail Breslin, I think, was the standout of this film. Another top-tier child performance that led to an Academy Award nomination. And, obviously she's had a career for herself. I would say she's had a pretty successful career these last few years. But her acting here, the character of Olive is so sweet and so cute and so innocent. And the sequence where she's talking with the grandfather, Alan Arkin's character, like, I don't want to be a loser and everything. And he's like, you're not a loser at all. You're a wonderful person. You're beautiful on the inside and out. And I'm madly in love with you. You're incredible. And just the tears, it's powerful stuff. It's a powerful child performance that's acting alongside these really talented actors who have acted for many years. And, when you're a child actor that could act on the same level as these really talented adult actors who have been, in the industry for a while, it's really impressive. And everyone's great here. The ending is one of my favorite endings of all time, of them all dancing together at the pageant. I love it. It just showcases how weird they are and how they're okay with that. They're embracing their weirdness, and I love it so much. It's just so good. It's such a good film. Everyone's great. Everything about it is great. And I love how 2 Breaking Bad actors are in this movie. You have Bryan Cranston in one scene, and then you have Dean Norris as a cop, very fittingly. And I love it. I love this movie so much. It's a masterpiece. It won the Academy Award for Best Screenplay. Alan Arkin won Best Supporting Actor. Abigail Breslin was nominated for Supporting Actress, and the film was nominated for Best Picture. Now, that was the year that that was the year that The Departed won Best Picture, a very deserving win for that. Like I said, Alan Arkin, he was really good in the movie. Everyone was really good, but I really wish that Eddie Murphy had won. But that's just my opinion, of course. I love the film. I love it so much. And give us more great films about dysfunctional families. And of course, this isn't the only dysfunctional family film that Toni Collette, since she's been in so many of them throughout the years. But yeah, I love Little Miss Sunshine. So I'm curious to know if it ends up being your number one or if it's not on your list.
It's not on my list.
Oh. So what are your thoughts on the film?
Oh, it's kind of like In Her Shoes. I feel like it was another case of mismarketing. Because I think the trailer made it seem much lighter than the initial trailer made it seem much lighter than it actually was.
Right.
But then when they got to the scene of Paul Dano realizing that he's colorblind,
Oh
and
my God.
and that they're just them having this huge meltdown in the van, I was like, oh, it's like, okay.
What a scene, though. Oh my God. My God. Do you have any other thoughts on Little Miss Sunshine before we move into our number ones?
I'm good.
All right.
Okay.
So, our number ones. I really thought Hereditary would be your number one. So, I'm really curious to know what your favorite Toni Collette film of all time is.
It is Muriel's Wedding.
Good choice. Good choice. So, why is that your favorite Toni Collette film of all time?
Well, for one, ABBA.
Of course.
ABBA.
Of course.
ABBA. Also, I just and also just the character of Muriel. Like I feel like as difficult as she may be, I feel like I kind of understand her. Like with her her desire to have a wedding and feeling appreciated stemming from feelings of inadequacy and loneliness. Because she's shown to be kind of selfish and even lies to her best friend, played brilliantly by Rachel Griffiths. She still feels like a real person, someone who is easy to root for, but has flaws and contradictions like everyone else.
Yeah, that film is really fucking good. I haven't seen it in so long. I've only seen it once. I haven't watched it since I was in high school, but my God, Toni's performance in that is just, it's just so sweet and wholesome. And, she was so young. She was in her early 20s when that movie came out. It's insane. And also I think I want to shout out the fact that it's directed by PJ Hogan, who to me directed one of the most incredible films of my childhood, the 2003 adaptation of Peter Pan, which I still stand by being my favorite adaptation of Peter Pan on the big screen. Incredible stuff, truly incredible. And it also introduced me to my favorite group of all time, Coldplay. I remember seeing that trailer religiously as a kid, and they would play Clocks by Coldplay, and I'm like, okay, now I'm hooked. And I was like 5 or 6 years old when this movie came out, and I've been a fan of Coldplay for almost 20 years now, and I'm very grateful about that. So, yeah, Muriel's Wedding is a great choice. It's so good, and it's one that I wish I had gone around to watching before we recorded, but just time is just too much on it. It's just there's just such little free time nowadays. It's insane. So my number one, of course, is Hereditary. That's to me the best film that she's ever been in. That's the best acting that she's ever given. Hereditary is very special to me, and I will be upfront. You brought up before how you're like a pretty massive horror fan. I'm kind of the opposite of that. I do like horror movies, but I'm not as like jazzed about them as I wish I was compared to like everyone else I know. And when I heard about Hereditary, because it premiered at Sundance and everybody was like buzzing about it, they're like, oh my God, this Hereditary movie is something really special. This first time director, Toni Collette, given a top tier performance that could be award worthy. And then I watched the movie and I was so blown away. And I'm so glad that I went into the movie not watching a trailer. I didn't know what it was about. All I saw was the poster and that was it. And that it was distributed by A24. That's all I had known walking into the movie. And it's one of the best horror films I've ever seen. And I love that it's more focused on the family side as opposed to just scaring everybody. Because I know a lot of people, the the average moviegoer, the person that doesn't go to the movies as excessively as like you and me, someone who just goes to probably watch like the same 5 movies a year, and they go and they're like, oh my God, a horror movie sold. And then they walk into the movie, they're like, oh, I'm scared. And then they walk out, wow, that was not a horror movie. I'm fucking pissed. And I remember so well when I went to go see this movie opening night, there were so many people that were like, what the fuck was that? That sucked. Oh my God, that was so bad. And I'm like, are you nuts? That was incredible. Like, what is the matter with you? Oh my God. And Toni's performance, the best female performance of that year, hands down. She should have been nominated for the Oscar, and quite frankly, she should have fucking won the Oscar, but she wasn't even nominated. And it's like, how do you not nominate her? That is legit one of the best performances I think I've ever seen. Like, what made her not worthy enough to be in the top 5 for all these acting races? But of course, oh, it's a horror movie. Oh, it's a weird movie. We're not going to recognize this. The Academy, this is still one of the biggest snubs. And I don't like to use that word lightly, but when I mean she got snubbed, she legit got snubbed. And there are so many people I know that are massive film geeks like you and me that aren't crazy about this movie as much as others. But even they could acknowledge that Toni should have been nominated, let alone win. And she didn't even get nominated, which is so disappointing. And Alex Wolff, want to give a shout out to him as well, because when I was a kid, the Naked Brothers band was a massive deal. So watching him in this was so out of left field for me. I'm like, what the fuck is he doing in this? Shouldn't he be making music with his brother or something? And he turned in an incredible performance, and so did the father. What was his name? Gabriel Byrne. He was great. He was great. And then the daughter, I mean, my God, like terrifying performance. And also I want to shout out the woman that practically everybody on film Twitter loves, the one person that everybody loves, Ann Dowd. Another truly, it's just so hard to speak about this movie without getting the chills. Ann Dowd, oh my God, another legendary performance from that woman who really should have an Oscar by this point. She should have been nominated for Mass. Still not over the fact that she got overlooked for that. Well, that movie should have been nominated for something, but yeah, Hereditary, it being more of a family drama as opposed to a horror movie, made it stand out. And it really is also one of the best directorial debuts I've seen, because when you watch this movie, you think to yourself, wow, this Ari Aster guy, it seems like he's been directing films for years, feature films for years. No, this was his first one, and he made Midsummer right after that, which I also really enjoyed. And I'm very excited for Disappointments Boulevard. But yeah, Hereditary is absolutely revolutionary. It's a truly top tier work across the board when it comes to its acting, writing, directing, edit. I'm so glad you brought up the cinematography, because the way it like zooms in to those miniatures and then it just subtly cuts to like the real stuff. It's so good. And that car scene in the movie, I mean, there's many of them, but the car scene that everybody talks about, I remember when I went to go see the movie and that happened, I don't think I've ever heard more gasps in my life in a theater than when that happened. And keep in mind, I've gone to major film festivals to where I've been in a group of like 1,000+ people, and even they didn't gasp to the extent of when I saw Hereditary at a theater that had 250 to 300 people. So that just shows how powerful it was. I love the film so much. it was one of the best films of the decade. It's one of the best horror films I've ever seen. It may honestly be one of the best horror films of all time, really, and for me. And yeah, I love Hereditary, and I'm so glad that we got to talk about it. So before we talk about some of the films that didn't make the cut, let's recap our list. So Matthew, what is your list from 5 to 1?
My list is Unbelievable, The Sixth Sense, In Her Shoes, Hereditary, and Muriel's Wedding.
And to recap my list, coming in number 5 is About a Boy. Number 4 is The Sixth Sense. Number 3 is The Way, Way Back. Number 2 is Little Miss Sunshine. And my number 1 is Hereditary. So that is it with our list. So let's talk about some of the films that did make the cut. So, Matthew, what films do you want to give a shout out to that didn't make your top 5?
Oh, Knives Out, of course.
Of course, of course.
Knives Out, The Hours.
Yes.
Only one scene, but still just floored me.
Mm-hmm.
Nightmare Alley.
Another like short scene, and I mean it was one of the sexy scenes of the movie. Like
Yeah.
a very very sexy scene. That was a very good film too. Oh my god.
I'm thinking of Ending Things.
Oh my god, yes. Yes.
It feels like she's doing a riff on her Hereditary performance.
Oh,
but
100%. 100%. I'm telling you, Charlie Kaufman had to have seen Hereditary, and he's like, okay, you're going to be in this movie playing this character. It's you and you only.
yeah. A Dream Horse.
I haven't seen that one.
It's a delight. It's a pretty simple delight. About a Welsh grocery store clerk who decides to be a horse breeder just to give her life some meaning.
See, that does sound very wholesome.
It is.
And she did that basically right after she was doing Hereditary. That's crazy. To go from Hereditary to that, I mean, my God.
Yeah,
so much range.
Yeah, it actually came out 3 years after Hereditary.
Oh, whoops, my bad.
Oh, it's okay. It's fine.
Do you have any other honorable mentions that you want to give a shout out to?
Velvet Buzzsaw.
I tried watching that and I couldn't get into it. But I've been wanting to go back, but I just haven't checked it out.
And I understandable. Like I personally enjoyed it. It's only for TONI COLLETTE and Jake.
Yeah.
and also I am the horror nut, so
Right. No, totally understandable. So for me, I'm gonna go with I have Knives Out. I have I Think of Ending Things. I really liked Krampus a lot. Krampus is so good. It's so good. That was really, really great. Enough Said from Nicole Hovsenter.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, James Gandolfini, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. That was one of the few times where TONI COLLETTE got to use her actual accent in the movie. So want to give a mention to that. Fright Night from 2011 with the late Anton Yelchin and Colin Farrell. That was a really entertaining horror comedy. And a lot of people were probably like, oh, God, why are they remaking this? And it was probably one of the few horror remakes that actually got good reception. Colin Farrell in particular was incredible in that movie. Like, he was insane in that. And Craig Gillespie directed it. And he has a very weird filmography to me. He does like all these like Disney sports films. And then he does like these effed up, messed up movies like I, Tanya. It's just incredible amount of rage, truly.
Yeah.
The Hours, of course. You brought Muriel's Wedding. I really liked Nightmare Alley a lot. I really enjoyed it, and I liked her little time on screen. And yeah, I think that's really it for me. But I do want to mention 2 films that she has coming out. First up, she has a film coming out called The Estate, which I believe you're going to TIFF, right?
Yeah.
I believe it's showing at TIFF, if I'm not mistaken. It's showing somewhere. I don't know if it's at TIFF or one of the other festivals, but the premise sounds really interesting. The cast gets me intrigued. So it follows two sisters as they attempt to win over their terminally ill, difficult to please aunt in hopes of becoming the beneficiaries of her wealthy estate, only to find the rest of their greedy family members have the same idea. So it has Toni Collette, Anna Faris, Kathleen Turner, David Duchovny, Rosemary DeWitt, and Ron Livingston. It sounds quite interesting. And yeah, I will definitely check that out. But I have to talk about my unabashedly high amount of hype for Mickey 7, which, in case you guys listening do not know what this film is about, you're about to shit your pants when I tell you what this is. So there's really not much of a plot to the movie yet, which, I mean, that doesn't matter to me because of who's involved. So it's a sci-fi drama film written and directed by Oscar winner Bong Joon-ho, coming off directing one of the greatest films that has ever been made, Parasite, and it stars in the lead role of Mickey, Robert Pattinson, and along Robert Pattinson, we have Toni Collette, Mark Ruffalo, Naomi Ackie, and Stephen Yeun. I don't care if they made a movie about the foundation of a toilet. It's Bong Joon-ho's follow-up to Parasite with this incredible cast. How can you not be excited for this? If you're someone out there that says, oh, I'm not excited for this, you are lying to yourself. Parasite is one of the most loved films of the past 10 years. It became this huge phenomenon. It became the first non-English film to win Best Picture. Bong Joon-ho is a king. He is one of the best filmmakers working today. I've slowly been getting into his filmography. I've been trying to watch a lot of his smaller stuff, but so far everything that he's made I loved. Obviously, Parasite. I mean, my love for Parasite is like indescribable. I saw it so many times in theaters. I bought the Blu-ray and then I upgraded to the Criterion, and I've watched the movie so many times. I have not watched it since like maybe around the time COVID started, which is disappointing. I need to sit down and watch Parasite again, but my hype for Mickey 7 is unprecedented. Easily, I don't know if it's coming out next year or the following year, but whenever this comes out, I'm going to be there day one to see this. So what's your hype level for Mickey 7?
Pretty high up.
Oh man. So what makes you very excited about it in particular, other than what I just said? Like what to you gets you amped for it?
Just same reasons as you. The cast, the director.
Yeah, it could literally be about anything, and I would watch it because of the people involved. And just Pattinson working with Bong Joon-ho, like in particular, like Pattinson headlining the Bong Joon-ho film is like really exciting. It's so exciting, and my God, I can't. I'm so excited, and I cannot wait to see the film. So, final thoughts on Toni Collette before closing out. She is one of the best actors working today. She's a chameleon, like Matt had said at the start. She's one of those actors that can really do anything, and she commits to her craft 110% all the time, regardless of the genre that she does. I love Toni Collette. I like how she does some of these bigger roles, but then she does these smaller, intimate films. I love her range. I will always be rooting for her. I will always get excited whenever she's in a film. I just love Toni Collette so much.
She is a treasure.
Literally a treasure. Truly a treasure. So, Matt, thank you so much for coming on today to talk to me about Toni Collette. It was such an honor to have you on and to gush about why Toni Collette is the amazing performer that she is. So, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, of course. Thanks for having me.
And where could the people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at FilmGuy619, and you can also check out my work on my own personal Substack, Cinematic Words of a Chaotic Gemini.
That's like the coolest name for an outlet ever. Seriously, that is like the coolest name I think I've ever heard in my life.
And also my work on the Film Experience, Awards Watch, and Little White Lies, Digital Spy, and wherever I air them.
Basically, Matt is everywhere. He is everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. You will find him anywhere. and you guys can follow this show on any social media platform. You could subscribe to this show on any podcasting platform you're listening to, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever. You guys can follow me on social media everywhere, simply at Bryan Suffield. We really appreciate you joining us today for this week's episode of Film Fragments, and I cannot wait for you guys to hear what we have planned for next week for our 10th episode. It's so crazy that we're about to hit the double digits in this show. It's nuts. I'm very excited for you guys to see the cool content that we have coming your way on this show. So really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much, so much for sticking with us. Thank you so much for coming by and listening to us gush about these fragments that are the film fragments. We will see you guys for the very next episode of Film Fragments. Take care, everybody.